Hello, I'm Harold Williams, Chairman, Chief Executive Officer here at Linscomb and Williams. Really glad to have the opportunity today to be here in our Atlanta office with a couple of my colleagues. This is, I think, going to be a fun time to spend together because we're going to reflect on everything it's taken that over a long history for this particular practice unit to come together and now to have it merge with our organization at Linscomb and Williams as of a couple of years ago is just really great. Glad to have with me the man that's kind of responsible for getting the whole thing going way back on day one, Bill Hammond, the founder and mentor of all of this. Bill, thanks for spending the time. And Mary Jane LaCroix, your protege and longtime sidekick, and picking up the mantle from here on, along with Bill Kring, our colleague. So, really happy to get this opportunity. I think, what I want to do today is just, kind of recount some of the history, because it's been an interesting parallel, really, to what we experienced at Linscomb and Williams starting in Texas about the same time, that all of this got going, and here in Atlanta. And as I recall, Bill, you were starting your financial service career about the same time that Dan Linscomb was finishing law school and starting Linscomb and Williams in
that's
Houston.
right.
So
Exactly.
That was the early 70s, right around there. So just, take me through those early, couple of years. I know you cracked the egg and started in the business, right out of school. Just, tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Well, I started off, I graduated college in 1970, went to school at West Georgia College in Carrollton. My dad was a banker, and he and I were very close.
So it was in the family blood, so to speak.
Yeah, it was in the family blood. I never wanted to be a banker per se because he was a banker, so I wanted to make my own way.
Right.
But I started out after I graduated from West Georgia. Started out with a company called Investors Diversified Services.
IDS.
IDS.
Sure, yeah. I remember
And
that.
back then, they were somewhat a forerunner of the financial planning business.
Mm-hmm.
We helped clients set up cash reserves. We got them into a savings plan. We invested in mutual funds for them. We helped them with life insurance, taught them about buying term and investing the difference, and helped them in the retirement
They were training
planning.
you somewhat in the business.
Exactly.
Right out of
They
school.
were
Yeah.
ahead of their time, and back then it wasn't even called financial planning.
You were like me as a young CPA. I had the degree and the credential, but I didn't mean I knew how to do anything. Somebody had to train me.
Exactly, I know what you mean. After IDS, I migrated to the trust department of Bank South. They were about the fourth largest bank in Atlanta at that time. I spent a couple of years in the trust department. That's really how I got involved in the financial planning industry.
Yeah.
I became aware of the CFP designation, and I thought, man.
I mean, it was brand new.
Oh, it's brand
at
new.
that point.
Brand spanking new.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, when you started and when we started Linscomb Williams, there was no such thing as a CFP.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So while I was at the trust department, I thought it'd be great to, if I never did anything with a degree, it would be a great learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and got my CFP.
And that's like 1975.
74, 75.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
actually in the second or the third CFP class. We had about 6 guys.
So you told me, what was your certificate number? It's like
Mary Jane, what was my certificate?
below 1,500.
Yes, it's 1398.
I mean, so within the first 2,000
Right.
people in the country,
Exactly.
to get the CFP. I mean, I don't know how many there are today, but it's in the 100,000 plus
Right.
range.
Exactly
So,
right.
yeah.
So back then, that was a great experience. I knew that while I was in the trust department there and got my CFP, that the bank at that time was never going to get into financial planning.
Really. Yeah.
Never. They were
very much on the trust model.
They were on the trust model. Financial planning was something it would taken them 10 or 15 years to do. So I
Now,
got
banks have figured it out since then.
They have, but back then they had not figured
Right,
it out.
right.
I was fortunate to find a position over in Birmingham. I went over there and worked for a company called Southern Financial Advisors. They were a division of Birmingham Trust National Bank.
Okay.
And at that time, we were providing comprehensive financial planning to the bank's high net worth clients.
They were a little ahead of their time.
They were way ahead of their time. And so that experience was just fantastic. It worked out
So
great.
what? I mean, it sounds like this was sort of in your blood, so to speak. I mean, you just felt the calling in some way. I mean, what was it about it that I mean, you developed a passion for this early?
Well, when I was in college, I thought, man, I'm really interested in the stocks and stuff like that. But I thought, this holistic approach, I like the idea of helping people look at their total financial plan.
Right.
And helping them in their finances, not be in the position of having to sell an investment product.
Yeah.
So that's what really appealed to me back then. So,
That's just such an interesting parallel to me. I mean, I joined my brother, George Williams and Dan Linscomb, who founded, the Linscomb-Williams practice in
Right.
71. I joined them in 76. And, in that first 5 years of the evolution of the firm, we were on kind of that same path of really defining this holistic
Right.
engagement, with clients, because it was more about just, it's more than a portfolio. It's how do we envision what your goals are,
Exactly.
as a family. So
Exactly.
you were really on that very same, kind of a mission, so to speak.
That's
in
absolutely
helping
true.
people. Now, you weren't, but at that point, you weren't managing money for clients, right?
We were not managing money. They were putting together some investment concepts, investing in cattle and various and sundry things that back then.
Taxes were a big deal, of course, at
Taxes
that
were a
time,
big
yeah.
deal back then. We made some investments for our clients in the real estate area. But at that time, we were not investing
Yeah.
clients' money in the stock market.
Right, right. And I imagine probably much as what happened with us, at some point, people were saying, well, can't you help me with this other dimension, and, can't you manage the money? I mean, we were hearing that question, and it kept resonating with us. Well, maybe there's something there, that we need to be thinking about. It took us a while, to figure it
Exactly.
out. But,
That's exactly right.
So, as I recall, there was what you described kind of as a big break. You were building your book of clients and using various ways of reaching out and trying to cultivate clients. And you were telling me the story before of kind of what you considered a big break. You got an entree into a company or a group of executives. Remind me kind of what happened there.
After Southern Financial Advisors, I got the opportunity to go back to Atlanta. I was dating my wife, Chris, at that time, and every other weekend I was going back and forth.
There's always a woman involved.
Always a
Yeah,
woman involved.
okay,
And
right.
so I had the opportunity to work with a guy that I had known at IDS. He was a pension consultant. And he and another friend of his, a CPA, formed a company by the name of Hallam and McGovern.
Okay.
And they did comprehensive financial planning way back then. They were
Yeah.
charging $5,000 for a financial plan
Which
back
in
then,
those days,
which
that'd be
was
like charging
unheard
20
of.
or 25,000
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly right. But I did get a very good break. Back then, trying to build up your financial planning practice was difficult. It's still difficult today for people starting off. So I did get a big break. I wrote a letter to a firm here in Atlanta by the name of Fuqua Industries. Fuqua had about 10 or 12 divisions throughout the U.S., and I was fortunate that I contacted the president of Fuqua Industries, and he was already working with another financial advisor here in Atlanta by the name of Randy Seckman. Mm-hmm. And so he liked the idea. I convinced him that you don't want your key executives spending all their time at the office working on their own finances.
Give them some help.
Let's give them some help.
Right.
So they engaged us, and we provided financial planning for 10 or 12 of their key executives. And fortunately,
That kind of leapfrogged your progress to
Exactly.
get 10 or 12 nice clients all in one bundle.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right. But still, it was a difficult time to build up a financial planning practice. And Randy Seckman contacted me because he knew that I was working with people at Fuqua, and he gave me the opportunity to come to work with him, which I thought was a great opportunity.
So now we got the CFP, CPA combination approach, the multi-credentialed approach. I mean,
Exactly.
that was, we were on that same path at Linscomb and Williams,
Right.
in those years, putting together people from different disciplines to combine efforts, for these clients.
Well, Randy was pretty much like y'all in that he was not managing money. He would tell people, well, why don't you go out and buy a little Home Depot, a little Coke or something like that. He had a guy that was a bond guy, that bought municipal bonds, for his clients. But we finally hired a CFA, a lady that was integral for getting the investment management started.
So you were an early adopter of that, manage investments for a fee
Exactly.
model, and we likewise guess we're kind of up to the early '80s, now at this point, and that's really when when Linscomb and Williams began, managing money on a fee basis. Our clients kept asking us about it, and finally the light went off, and we said, we should be doing this, and so we actually much more bootstrapped it. We didn't go hire a CFA. That's probably what we should have done. We've got a number of those now, as you know. But
Absolutely.
But early on, we were to a great extent, quite honestly, just winging it. And doing the best we could to learn the
doing the
market.
same
Fortunately,
thing.
our colleague Walter Christopherson is a longtime student of the market, and he was a great help. So that was probably a period where you were starting to build your client base. I mean, how were you getting clients? I mean, you had the big break, but how did it build?
Through referrals.
Yeah.
That's the way that we've always built our business.
Are some of those early people still on the books?
Absolutely.
They are.
The interest in the president of Fuqua at that time is still a client of ours.
Wow.
The wife of the senior vice president, he passed away about 8 or 10 years ago, but she's still a client. She's been a client 40 years.
Yeah. No, we've got a few of those long tenured relationships. Those are
Exactly.
really feel great to talk to those people. And of course, I'm sure too you probably remember fondly what it was like to prepare a full financial plan for somebody back in the 1980s without the benefit of all the technology, the software, the apps, the tools. There's no internet, no. When we had to research something, we got in the car and we drove down to the law library at the school and looked it up. And I'm sure it was much the same.
Pretty much the same way. And Randy was smart enough to have someone come in and write a software program for our clients.
Wow.
We did have an attorney there on staff, which was very helpful. He helped us out in the estate planning area.
Right.
But I'm not the one to talk about software. This is the one.
Well,
This is one. You got software questions.
Yeah, that's.
I always felt Harold was always smarter to hire somebody smarter than you were that knew a whole lot more about it than you did.
That was the Dan Linscomb philosophy.
Exactly.
He said, I knew how to find people that were smarter than me, and I added them. So that actually takes us up to an interesting point. All of that progressed, as I know, through the 90s, and that was nice growth. You had kind of a tragedy in 2001, though, that for your partnership with Randy, but it also proved to be maybe a pretty important point in terms of what ensued. Talk a little bit about what happened there.
Randy and I had worked together for several years. And he was in great physical shape. He ran 10Ks. He was in his early 70s. Every year he took a trip down to South America. And unfortunately, he got killed in a boating accident.
Oh, my goodness.
And the turmoil that caused within the firm is unbelievable. He really didn't have a succession plan. Randy and I were business partners, but he had his client base and I had my client base.
Yeah, and you had morphed into, you had an independent operation
Exactly.
really of your own, even though it was linked to him.
Exactly.
And I think, and this gets to something I want to come back to later, and that is, it highlights, I think, very definitely the need for people doing what we all do to think about, is our model sustainable for our clients?
Exactly right.
Because they want it to be sustainable. They don't want to have a sudden disruption, have to find somebody new.
No question
Right.
about it.
And,
No question
and
about
I
it.
know you had come aboard just right before all of this
It was
erupted,
right.
literally by a matter of weeks or months.
Right, just weeks, and an eyewitness said turmoil, and I thought, oh goodness.
What have I gotten into?
what have
Yeah,
I got
talk about a
myself into?
baptism of fire.
Right,
Good
right,
grief.
you know,
What did
and-
that feel like?
Yeah, 2001 was different for so many people, and so many ups and downs. But for the firm and for clients, it was a lot of change right
Yeah.
away in early 2000. So I was hired on. I left SunTrust Bank there, and I didn't even give myself like a vacation. He said, "When can you start?" I said, "Well, I have to give them 2 weeks." so I can start after that. So I did, and it was
Without missing a day.
right, and I didn't
Exactly.
think anything about it, but. And then, we started hearing, in addition to that turmoil, then you hear about the MCI, WorldCom,
Well,
Enron.
yeah, a lot of people don't remember, that was a very tumultuous market period.
Right.
Exactly right.
2000 and 2002.
Right, so
I mean, that was I think the second worst bear market since the Great Depression, and pretty ugly.
We had one client that we were managing money for. There was a physician group. One of the physicians heard about Y2K and he wanted to get out of the market. So we had to go over and talk to him and say that's not the thing to do. We convinced him to stay in the market, and he stayed in. And everything worked out well.
Still thanking you today, I hope. Yeah.
They are.
I mean, so Mary Jane, you just literally, I mean, you're brand new on the scene. All
Right.
of this is breaking in the market,
Right.
plus the practice having to, I think essentially you had to essentially morph into Hammond Investments, proper and really be delivering the full service without the
Exactly.
partnership with
Exactly right.
Randy.
Right.
And so, I mean, you're in here getting your arms around all of this in a rough market. I
Right,
mean,
right. Getting to know clients, fielding calls for Bill at the time, the rough market. Then, of course, September 11th happened, and that was obviously a day
Right.
everything changed and stood still. And I remember being in the office that day, and it was shockingly,
Spooky
yeah,
feeling.
yeah. And but it really, I think, put a little spark in me and realized that I really need to. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
It had been a solid 9 months being there, but just really helped solidify with what I wanted to
When
do.
conditions are tough, what you realize is how much clients, really rely on
question
and
about it.
value just having a sounding board.
Right.
Having somebody to talk to when they feel, uncomfortable. like
Exactly
that.
right.
And,
Exactly right.
So that's great. Well, now somewhere in there, then you got the bug, right?
Right.
To ask that question,
Right.
which was,
Right. So
should
should I do this? Yeah. So
I mean, if I like this field, should I go ahead and get the credential?
Right, right. So I did that, and talked with Bill about it, and he was obviously very supportive
Absolutely.
to move forward
Absolutely.
with that. So went
So that's long about 2004,
2002, 2003,
5,
4, yeah. I did it after work and through a local school here, so it went really well, and took the exam and got all certified around end of 2006, and really started working with clients more one-on-one in 2007, and have not
Now,
looked back.
you've got a real sense of timing. So you came on board right before, this tragedy and then in a bear market, and then you got your CFP right at the top of the market.
Top of the market.
Before 2008,
Right.
Great Recession, bear market.
Exactly right.
So again, another baptism of fire
Right.
working with clients.
Right, and I remember a friend of Bill's had come into the office, kind of in the midst of that. I want to say it was the summer of 2008, and I heard them casually talking. I was just doing some admin stuff, and I something piqued my interest, and I went in there and listened with them. And he said, "You just watch. Lehman Brothers is going to fall." You can't be serious. There's no way. Well,
The unthinkable.
Exactly.
then it happened. So yeah, was thrown into that, and I couldn't believe my eyes. And again, what did I get myself into? But the I guess urge or whatever was there for me to want to help people through
Yeah.
those things. To help with their
know,
financial life and coping.
Of course, it's so easy for us now, 12 years later, to think
To look
back,
back on it,
on
right?
these stories and kind of laugh at,
Right.
and be even lighthearted in talking about it. But, it was very intense at the time.
It was tough.
I mean, and
Yeah.
emotional.
Back then, we were very fortunate in that we convinced 99% of our clients to stay in the market.
Yeah.
We told them that history's on their side. If you stay in the market and not only stay in but add money while the market is down, over the long run you'll come out well.
Right.
So it did work out well for our
Yeah.
clients.
Well, and we certainly had that similar path and about that same batting average. We had a few that
Sure.
just,
So did we. So did
it
we.
was too emotionally challenging,
Right.
and they sort of capitulated, when the market was down. But the vast, overwhelming majority, even though it was uncomfortable,
Right.
I think with our help, decided, yeah, we're going to ride this out, and of course it paid off, and so man, you were in at that point.
I was,
no turning
I
back.
was all
you
in,
know?
and we got through it, as
We
did
did.
the
And it
rest of
wasn't
the
too long
country.
after. So you bought into the practice.
Yeah, in
just a
2011.
couple of years later.
Yeah, 2011 became partner with the firm,
Well,
and
I was smart enough to know that I had a jewel here.
Yeah, right.
And the only way to keep that jewel is to
needs a
offer
dog
her
in
an
the hunt.
equity,
Yeah,
offer
right.
an equity interest in the firm.
you're
Right.
fine.
So that's what we did.
And so
in
y'all you
2011.
kept going, and I didn't mention, our other colleague, Bill Kring's not here today, but y'all knew Bill from actually early on, that back
did.
maybe around 2000, 2001,
Right.
right?
Right.
And he had a practice, and y'all had some, interconnection just professionally.
Exactly.
With Bill.
He was
and-
literally across the street. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, 50 feet away. His
Yeah.
office was here, and we
Yeah.
were right there.
Yeah.
And so we'd known
And
Bill
so
all
it
the time.
wasn't too long after you bought in where the rumblings of, hey, should we consider joining forces?
Right.
And I know that evolved over several years.
Right.
you
And
know.
succession planning doesn't happen overnight. So, I mean, that was 9 years ago, right? So,
Exactly.
Bill and I, together, made decisions for the better of our clients, most importantly, right? For succession, should something happen to both of us.
And you really, you both, of course, have that very unique perspective of having seen what happened in Randy's
Exactly.
case,
Right.
where that path was not perfected. And although fortunately, you had your clients somewhat segmented and protected, but I'm
Right.
sure there was turmoil with Randy's clients.
Exactly.
Because-
There's no question
Right.
about it.
Because that wasn't in place. And, I mean, as you know, that's a big part, it's always on our mind at L&W. And, it's creating a team environment where, where clients can feel comfortable that, look, there's a team here.
Right.
It's not a one-man show.
Right.
Right.
Continuity is so important
Yeah.
with clients.
Exactly right.
Well, so, and so all of that kind of conversation and getting to know each other better, that led, to more formal conversations with Bill.
Right.
As you got on to, into 16 and 17 and
Right.
finally, consummated in formalizing that partnership. And, I guess in a lot of ways, that's really, in some ways, it's the same thing that led to our combination. We needed, I mean, as I look back on it, it is so fortuitous the way it's worked out because, we needed the presence in Atlanta and trying to build that from scratch,
Right.
coming over from Texas.
Difficult.
I mean,
Right.
that's a leap, to try to do that. And so we knew there's got to be somebody like-minded where this would be a fit. But I mean, I have to tell you, I don't think we could have scripted it any better. I mean, we're now known each other for 2 years,
Right.
and next year, be 2 years into the formal, merger and marriage, and just, the more we work together, the more I kind of just step back and am amazed at how, how good of a fit, it is, and some of that's just has to do with the culture, caring about the client
Right.
and adhering to the fiduciary model and frankly, I think doing the same thing in our practice that you guys have done here, it's not about egos and
Exactly right.
whatever. It's about getting the best people to work on the client problems
Right.
and solve them. And so it's just worked out really, really, really well. So
Yeah, I would say the most exciting thing to me still, even though it's been a couple of years, is the team aspect. I love that we have so many
Exactly.
different people that we can bounce ideas
just being
of.
able, yeah.
Yeah, have you seen the situation? The investment team to pick brains on,
Yeah.
particular situations, whether it be Exxon stock in
Yeah.
Houston or Coca-Cola
Coca-Cola,
stock here,
yeah.
or Home
Exactly.
Depot, here in Atlanta. So it's just been very good. It just seems so general. It's more than that.
Yeah.
It's very natural, and I think it's so good for our clients.
I never criticized small firms. We were one once.
Right.
You were one
Right.
once. and
Absolutely.
We're all part of a bigger scale now. But as I look back, I sure like having some scale. I like the fact that we've
No question.
got some dedicated infrastructure. We don't have to all spend all day, every day worrying about the internal details of the business. If somebody's sick, we don't have to figure out who's going to staff the front desk
Right.
or, you know, did we get the payroll stuff in on time this week, you know, or the accounting and, you know, the compliance and all those details. Having some scale enables us to, you know, have people to do that, and I don't, you know, we just all can pay a lot more attention to the actual client.
Yeah, that was a lot of hats I wore.
Oh,
We
my
wore
gosh.
for
You-
many
you
years,
wore.
and
That's a challenge
Oh, my
for a
gosh.
small firm and
No
a
question about
one-man
it.
shop. I mean,
No
man,
question about
yeah, it's
it.
tough.
Mary Jane did basically everything.
Yeah.
She was client service coordinator, she was accountant, she was,
How to get the billing done.
yeah, how to get the
Yeah,
billing
yeah,
done,
right. And
trader.
collected, yeah.
She did everything. And you know, I was really fortunate to come across this gal here.
Well,
She's been a
and,
real jewel.
Well, and look, I know you're, you know, at year end, you're saying you want to retire, quote unquote, and that's okay as long as we all understand our definition of that. You know, we'll let you do that, give you some well-earned, you know, flexibility and freedom. I think we want to, you know, probably keep you tagged on at least as an advisory director.
Love to do.
And so
Love
that
to
we
do.
can, so that we can keep the tether there and pull you in, you know, when we need to.
I want to share just a couple of things with you. I think one of the major benefits of the merger for me has been that we have not 3 professionals here in Atlanta, but we've got 50 in Houston.
Yeah.
That is so important to me that as Mary Jane and I built up a client base, that it's important for those clients who had entrusted their dollars to us that we leave them with a professional team going forward. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what we've done.
Right.
It's been a real blessing. And not only do we leave them with a professional team, we leave them with someone they've been dealing with for 20 years.
Yeah.
That
Right,
knows them
right.
backwards
Yeah.
and forwards.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thing about it.
Yeah.
You have seen this as well
Yeah.
as I have. Many financial planning practices don't succeed because they change up the continuity and stuff like that.
Right.
It's so important.
It's
that
a very
clients have that.
personal business, you know, personal relationships.
Well,
Yeah.
you and I both know this. These people aren't just clients. They're people we go to
They're
dinner
friends.
with.
They become
They're
friends.
friends. They're people I go to church with, I play golf with, I go to supper club with.
They know you're handicapped. for God's sakes. Yeah.
Sadly.
Unfortunately, they do.
it's
But you know, I became very comfortable once I came to Houston and met you guys because I knew your background was very similar to mine. I was always leery about joining a big group because, you know,
Well,
big
it's
groups are big
amazing.
groups,
I mean,
yeah.
we're both following this path.
Exactly.
And just, you know, it came together, you know, really at a good point.
It did.
and I would echo what Bill's saying about going to a large firm, but it feels more like family.
It does.
I don't want to say large firm. It's family, and you know, being with family for almost 20 years now. Come February, it'll be 20 years that Bill and I have been working together. He's like my
Yeah,
second father.
congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, it's been a great ride.
Yeah, it feels like
Well,
family.
you know, and look, that's you know, there's an intangible there that we call culture, and I
Exactly.
think we do not want to ever lose that, you know, at Linscomb and Williams, because clients detect that, they can sense it.
No question
If
about it.
we lose that, believe me, they will know.
Right.
And so we have to keep that element, you know, top of mind all the time. And, you know, really it's about doing right by the client and
Exactly.
being confident that you're going to do that.
Exactly.
So we're just so appreciative of the partnership.
Well, one of the other things that was a big plus for me is the 6-man investment team that we have now. Is that not fantastic?
Yeah.
We had been relying on one person to manage money.
And by the way, Bill Kay, not with us here on the recording today, but a lot of nice
Very well versed.
input, and he's an add to that team.
Oh, no question
We are-
about that.
We are
No
really
question
happy to
about
have
that.
him
Yeah.
have his input.
Yeah.
I interrupted you,
No,
sorry.
no, that's okay. But it was very important for me to have the team.
Yeah.
And that's what we have, is we have a team in Houston. Mary Jane and I saw what happened at Randy's office after
Yeah.
Randy died.
didn't
We
wanna-
couldn't put our clients through
Right.
that turmoil. The team approach, it's just, gosh, it's so much
got
better.
depth.
It's less
Yeah.
risky for the clients.
Right.
It's just a great thing.
Yep.
Well, and look, you're still on the team. We're not letting you off. We might reassign your role a little
That's
bit.
okay.
Give you
That's
some more
okay.
flexibility, but, you know, hey, want to wish you and Chris the very
Well.
best as you do have a little bit of, more playtime to mix in there.
Well, I also want to thank you and Mary Jane both for allowing me to kind of test drive the retirement scene. Chris was not so sure how that was going to work out.
Yeah.
And so, I
Well,
can
if she gets
leave,
tired of you, you just let me know. We can reel you right back in.
I can leave with a sense of accomplishment that my client's in very good hands.
Well,
I've been blessed, you and I both have been blessed to be in this industry.
oh, it is. It's been a great
To
time
be able
for
to
it.
do what we do
Yeah.
and be blessed with great clients.
Yeah, no, certainly yes, it's successful and financially rewarding, but it's personally rewarding.
No question about that.
To be involved and help people realize their goals.
And I hope as we go forward that we can teach our clients to bless others, as you and I have been blessed. We want them to be good stewards of the money that they've
Yeah.
been entrusted with.
So,
But I also want to say that I can't tell you how proud I am of Mary Jane.
yeah,
Starting off 20 years, baptism by fire, her hard work and her dedication. She's been a great person to work with all these years. As I said, she's worn very many hats. Today, she's a seasoned veteran. She's seen the bull market.
you didn't write that script.
No.
So,
She's seen the bull market, the bear market, and everything in between. And as I
Yeah.
wind down, I feel very comfortable our client's in great hands.
well,
45 years of big shoes to fill.
yeah,
Thanks.
well,
Well, you got a lot
I'm-
of people to help you. You got a lot of people to
I
help
do,
you.
and
Thank you
I'm
both
excited
for-
about it.
spending the time, great to just kind of hear it again and recap the history. It's a great story, and hey, and thank all of you for giving us the time to share it with you. And next year, 2021 is officially our 50th anniversary year at Linscomb and Williams, and so we're just very happy to be partnered up with the Atlanta practice group here and looking for great things in the next 50 years. So. If you have any questions at all, reach out, to any of us, reach out to Bill, Mary Jane, to Bill Kring, or any of us in Houston for that matter. And we're just, we're grateful to you for your loyalty as clients. So thanks very much.